Hi, I wanted to go over a little bit of a reminder in case you have been absent and just to kind of get you on the right path. I think you probably are, but I've had an awful lot of questions for clarification. And so I am concerned that we may not be following the protocol that we've been doing throughout the year. So when you are not sure about what got assigned or what got turned in or any of those pieces, you start in Google Classroom. So here I am in fourth period, Google Classroom. You go to your period. You're going to go to classwork, and then you're going to take a look at the agenda. The agenda will always be the first item listed in the week that we are. We are in the 15th week of school. This is still protein synthesis. We will test this Friday. And here is our daily agenda. Before I click that open, I'll also point out to you that our electronic copy of our notebook is right here as well. So let me go pull this open and then I'll point you through yesterday and today. So yesterday was Monday and today is Tuesday. So we'll open this up. Make certain that you fully let this load before you start clicking items. You'll see on the left-hand side, this is for the entire full unit. Our test day was on the 26th. We did a little bit of genetic engineering that day, and that was maybe a colored paper or a different task, but it was an assignment. And then we had our first day, second, third, and then here comes Monday. This is our fourth day of class. So on Monday, students walked into the class and I handed them a little entry ticket. I wanted them to answer 10 questions, not using any notes or any Chromebook, internet options or phones. So they dropped off their phones in the pockets and they tried their hand at these top 10 questions. And then I collected it right away. I had students grade them, and this is not for their for an actual grade. It was just a check to see where they were, and then I could determine how are we doing on for the first 3 days of the unit. How are we doing on the top 10 ideas? We then needed some more practice. So we practiced transcription and translation together. When you click this link right here, you'll actually see where we went. So we went to transcribe and translate in a wonderful website. We did this process together. We clicked and we listened, and then we moved through this. And then students went back to this website and they could click this again, but like I'm showing you, we're going to zoom through the video, not listening to it a second time, and see if we can get to the end. And what we did in class was we chose this first gene. I showed students how to do this gene. And then I asked the students afterwards to do this process with another gene up top or this gene down low. So they got to pick the second or the third, whichever one they chose. And then they clicked this and started the process. It was encouraged that they listen to the video again just for repetition. But if they felt very comfortable with that, then they moved all the way to the end. And then they did the practice. And then they kept moving through this. So they did some individual practice that was exactly the same thing that I had just modeled for transcription and translation. Then we went back to our agenda. And after we did that, we did a little bit of notebook additions. So if you want to see the additions that we made in our notebook, you'll go back to your Google Classroom, go right up to the top where the biology notebook is, and then open up our notebook. Again, let it load all the way. The very next page is protein synthesis. This was our cover page from earlier last week. And then this was where we started. We did some updating. I asked students to draw these images, and then we put little flaps over the top that were trying to represent what these structures meant or did So this first one is the nucleus. And so some students drew a little map with "you are here" and put an N for nucleus. For the two enzymes that cut open DNA and then add the new nucleotides, helicase and RNA polymerase, I had students that drew scissors for cutting open and then a little plus for adding. So that would be over top of this. And then you can see some other items. The graphics here on the right side were what we all put down on our 77. The sticky notes were what I distributed in class, but each student could have a unique image over the sticky note. That was their discretion. And that was the detail that I wanted them to go through. It has to be meaningful to the student. So just taking my ideas might not have worked for the student. So we added some notebook details. Then we practiced transcription and translation, very detailed. And this was in Google Classroom. Oops, I forgot. For your notebook additions, there was a second page that we did. So this was the first piece. And then the second piece was right here on 79. We went through and graphically represented transcription, and then we graphically represented translation. Now we can go back to the agenda. We were then heading off to individual practice work and checking. So students went into Google Classroom, that's the purple GC, practice and transcription and translation individually, and then they would do a check yourself open note posted in Google Classroom. So let's go take a look back in Google Classroom. We'll close up the notebook piece. Here was our agenda. Practicing transcription and translation. This was day 4, so our agenda will always tell us what day we're on. So that's day 4. So in Google Classroom, Unit 5, day 4, that was the practicing, and here's the quiz yourself. You got to do the practice first. You pop this open. And at your own pace in class and then eventually at home, you're going to go through the images. So where does this happen? Where does transcription happen? And you would guess or not guess. You would say it definitely happens in the nucleus. If you want to check your answer, you click on it. Transcription happens in the nucleus, and it gives you a little bit more detail. Then you want to know, what is this thing? That's a chromosome. If you don't remember what a chromosome is, you click it, and it'll tell you some more. It'll ask you to tell us about this DNA double helix, and it'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about that step. This little green backbone is different than the blue backbone. Blue backbone is one side of DNA, but the green backbone, the one that also has U's and no T's, that's messenger RNA. So you're going to click it. It'll tell you a little bit about that. This is the enzyme. They're omitting helicase, so just go with the RNA polymerase. And then you've got a video to watch. Make certain that you watch this video very carefully. When you're done with the video, you hit the next button, and it'll take you to translation. After you go through this and watch the video for translation, then you're going to go to the next step, which teaches you how to use this big wheel of codons. It'll tell you what a codon is and how to use it. Last piece is an overview here. So go through clicking and looking and making certain that you're learning these details. And then you're going to go back finally into your Google Classroom, and you're going to knock out this quiz for you. You could keep this protein synthesis graphic practice open if you wanted to. You could make half of your screen this view, and then you could make the other half of your screen this view, and see where you are as you go through your quiz. That is okay because it is an open note, not an open internet, but an open note quiz. So let's go back to the daily agenda. The details that I just went over with you were for Monday. Your 2 homework assignments are right here. And let's take a peek at today. Today we did a very similar process. When students walked in, I gave them a small slip that was just an entry ticket. I gave them the answers and they corrected their work and turned it in. We went through a big picture of protein synthesis, which is now on notebook page 81. And then students are going to need to come up with 6 questions with stickies on in the notebook. You'll see if you go into the notebook up here, I've already got it open. and take a look at your 81. These are all the details that we added, and then we checked for understanding down here. And then this is, students don't have to make that question mark, but I was a little bit bored with my highlighter, so I did add a little bit of drama. But these are the 6 questions that I wrote. Students need to write their own 6 questions, and then you put the answer underneath the sticky note. If it feels like your stickies are going to lose their sticky, add a small piece of tape on the top. If you don't have sticky notes, just get any piece of paper and cut them small so they can cover up your answers. We then went through a protein synthesis worksheet. This was a page that I do not have attached electronically here. But if you send me an email, I can try and find a copy of that and send it off to you. And then I gave back the check-ins from yesterday, and that determined if you got a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, then you did this task. If you got a 8 out of 10 or less, then you did this task. So this is the link. There are 2 items that were distributed in class. If you are not physically here in class today, then I will work hard to get you an electronic copy of these items, but it will make more sense once you've gotten some of your check-in works complete. If you are going to be out for another day or 2, please do send me an email. And again, I will get you some electronic copies and you can print from home some of these items so you don't fall too far behind. Thanks again. Remember, an email is the perfect way to send me questions, and I will talk to you soon.